Okay, everyone. So, big hello to everyone, both online and in the room. My name is Richard Tonkin. I am from the Statistics Division of UNESCAP. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this session on partnership innovation for inclusive ocean data. It's going to be a very exciting session on what's an incredibly important topic. It's also going to be a very interactive session. We're going to have some introductory presentations, but then we're going to break out into groups for discussion led by some of the great experts we've got here, both in the room and online. So to officially open the session, we're going to hear from Rachel Bevan, Director of the ESCAP Statistics Division, Programme Committee member for this excellent World Data Forum, and most importantly, my boss. So Rachel, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Richard. And let me also join Richard in saying huge welcome to everyone who's here in person, but also to those who've been able to join us online as well. And it really is my huge pleasure as well to be able to welcome you to this session on partnership innovation for inclusive ocean data. And when I think about oceans, actually, I think back to my childhood, and I grew up in Papua New Guinea. So I spent quite a lot of time then, swimming in the open seas. And I remember then, seeing amazing blue ocean, incredible bright coral, fish absolutely everywhere. Then when I went back to that same place just 3 years ago, actually, just at the beginning of COVID, I could see the huge change that had taken place. And whilst the sea was still as blue as I remembered, I think, there was very little live coral left and there were far fewer fish. And also you could see a massive number of trawlers. So whereas before there was just one or two canoes and people just catching single fish, there were actually huge trawlers with helicopters and lots of different boats out kind of catching fish. But today we're going to actually look then in a bit more detail about how we can measure those kinds of changes. And I think we all know that ocean accounts can help us to make better decisions about how we manage our marine ecosystems and resources. But we also know that these resources are really connected and they're shared by all people on the planet. And ocean accounts help not just decision makers in the kind of public sector and the private sector, but it also helps very much at the local level as well and at the individual level. So we need all of that information for all of those different people. But whilst we know the importance of data, there's still so much more in this area that we really need to do to make sure that we have got that high quality, timely, inclusive data, which is why we're all here today. So we hope to collectively envision and shape a future where ocean data organization and management are much more effective and inclusive. But during the session, we will highlight some innovative global partnerships in ocean data, but we also really want to hear from all of you about what's going on, about what are you doing in terms of innovative data. And we really want to hear as well from different disciplines because we're all working together towards these shared objectives. And I'm really pleased that we have been able to organise this session today with the Global Oceans Accounts Partnership, GOAP, who are joining us online. Unfortunately, weren't able to be here in person, but we've also got many more partners. And there's always a danger reading out the list because I'm sure I'll probably forget someone. But, I just wanted to say a huge thank you as well to partners like Statistics Canada, Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, Recum Nusantara Foundation, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Technology, Institute of Strategy and Policy on Natural Resources and Environment, and AfriSeas from South Africa. But that just shows you, doesn't it, the breadth of different organizations who are working together on this complex challenge. But we know that we really do need to work together. We know that we need to do more to ensure that we actually have that data that we need, but we also need to do a lot more to actually make sure that the data we do have is being used. So we hope to foster the expansion of the worldwide community, which is focused on inclusive ocean data. And I have to make a huge apology at this point as well to say that I'm really sorry. When they organised this, despite being on the programme committee, I was not able to avoid having a clash so that I have to go and speak at another event. So I am really, really sorry about that. But I know that this session is really designed to be interactive. So although we've got people up here on the panel, we do want to hear from people in the room, but also online as well. We've got the Hoover app. Please post your questions and we will try to also make sure that it is as interactive as it can possibly be. But I do, just because I'm disappearing to another session doesn't mean this issue is not important. I'm so sorry I can't be here for the whole session with you. But I'm leaving you in the capable hands of Richard and the IO as well, who are going to take over and actually manage the whole event. And I look forward to hearing from them and perhaps from some of you afterwards as well about the discussions. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. So kind of next, we've got great pleasure to hear from Ben Milligan. Ben is the Secretariat Director of the Global Ocean Accounts Partnership, GOAP, that Rachel mentioned in her introduction. So Ben is going to be joining us online. So can you hear us, Ben?
I can indeed, Chair. And can you hear me?
Yes, yep, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, good afternoon, everyone from Sydney, Australia, and I sincerely apologise for not being able to join in person. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to join conversations like this because they are evidence of the diversity of efforts and ambition around the world to combine ocean data, our diverse knowledge of the ocean, in ways that help us make better decisions about our future and how it relates to the ocean. And the need to make better decisions is all over the world imperative. There are rapidly changing social, economic, and environmental circumstances in the ocean. We are placing ever increasing demands on the ocean every day to support our well-being as a source of resources, as space for new kinds of infrastructure, particularly in the Asia Pacific region, but also globally. And if we're going to make effective decisions in that context, we need to bring together and really harness our collective understanding instead of making decisions in silos, whether those silos are based on environmental information only or social information only or economic information only. So we need to consider the full picture, and as that's typically described in the relevant international agreements, we need to go beyond conventional measures of economic performance when we assess how we are managing the ocean and how the ocean is benefiting us. And so I represent the Secretariat of the Global Ocean Accounts Partnership. That's a coalition of 28 members, predominantly national governments, several of whom are represented in the room today. And what the GOAP focuses on is addressing exactly the challenge I just mentioned, focused on how we better connect ocean-related data and statistics in national systems so that decision makers have a better understanding of progress towards our common goals, in particular common goals related to sustainable ocean development, and so that everybody involved in the ocean has a better collective understanding of our common journey. And that is a complex technical challenge, as you'll hear from others on this call. There are a whole range of integration challenges for ocean data across different expert domains. How do scientists talk to economists better and share information? How do local communities engage with national governments and share information effectively? And ocean accounting systems really sit at the heart of this and are, in our experience as a global secretariat, in rapidly increasing demand. And there are a few drivers for this. The formal drivers, there are new international agreements around ocean accounts, which really highlight the need to build national statistical systems for our ocean. The most recent example of that is from the Convention on Biological Diversity negotiations just at the end of last year, where in Decision 1524 from memory, the states parties to the convention urged each other to strengthen national, local, and regional efforts towards ocean accounting, including recognition of the economic importance of the environment in development decisions. So that's just one of a growing number of examples of how international leadership is increasingly calling for better ocean accounting systems. And the reasons for that at a national level are becoming increasingly urgent. We need to be establishing better planning systems for how we use ocean space. We need to be establishing better systems for understanding the sustainability of particular economic sectors, whether that's shipping or fisheries or tourism or renewable energy, all of these different uses we have on the ocean. And we need to have better understandings of where the most important areas of the ocean are to protect. How do we establish marine protected areas in locations that maximize benefits for communities and countries and the global community? So governments are placing increasing demands on data providers for this kind of integrated information. And GOAP, as you'll hear more from soon, is all about bringing this information together. And it's, as a secretariat, tremendously exciting to hear constantly the ambition and the innovation that's coming out of champions at the national level. So I will stop there after highlighting some of the policy context to this discussion, and really look forward to hearing from our country representative colleagues who are going to tell you more and engage in a discussion about the practicalities of how we build the accounts we need for the future we want for our ocean. So thank you very much, everybody, and I'll hand back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. I think that's really helpful in setting the scene for our discussions today. Before we move on to discussion segment of our session, we've got one more presentation. We're going to hear from Jessica Andrews, who is a senior research analyst at Statistics Canada, and she's going to share how partnership is working for the implementation of the ocean accounts in Canada. So we've got a video to run for Jessica. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Andrews. Unfortunately, I can't be with you today for this session, so I've sent a presentation on behalf of the Census of Environment, which will give a Canadian ocean accounts update. 2022 was a super productive year for us. It was the first full year of the Census of Environment, which received funding in 2021. The Census of Environment is a program that is planning to assemble comprehensive source of data sets and tools that will be available to the Canadian public. We had 4 publications that have come out under the Census of Environment that are linked to ocean accounts. So the first was Accounting for Ecosystem Change in Canada, which came out in January of last year. And then in June, we put out our first Ocean and Coastal Ecosystem Extent Account. And in November, we put out a Protected and Conserved Ocean and Coastal Ecosystem Area Account, as well as a Salt Marsh Framework paper. Last year there was work on setting up the governance structure for the census, including advisory bodies. And these advisory bodies include experts from academia and other departments who will really be looking at our work plans and suggesting what we should be working on over the next few years. And we started engagement with Canadians and other partners. We did send out in November a survey that Canadians could fill in on which environmental aspects interested them the most that they would like the census to work on. So the first publication I mentioned was Accounting for Ecosystem Change in Canada. It had quite a large ocean and coastal component. We compiled a lot of extent data on a number of different ecosystems, such as salt marsh, seagrass, and kelp. It also has condition data with some data on sea surface temperature change, salinity change, sea ice, how it's changed over the last 40 years, fish stock sustainability, and also the extent of aquaculture and oil licenses. It does have information on protected areas and also has a look at communities that are really dependent on fisheries. So these are communities that at least 20% of the income of the community is linked to the fishing industry. And then we also have fisheries, landings, and aquaculture, shellfish production. The 2 accounts we put out last year were an extent account and a protected and conserved area accounts. And these are getting more to what is intended in the CEA. Our extent count differs from what was in the previous publication in that everywhere where different ecosystems were mapped to the same location, we made a decision on which was more likely, and so it's spatially explicit. And then the protected area count, we overlaid the protected area that we got from Environment Canada with our extent so that we could look at what percentage of each ocean and coastal ecosystem is currently either conserved or protected. Our salt marsh framework paper came out in November, and this was really an exploration of how we could create extent, condition, and physical ecosystem service accounts for this one ecosystem following CEA, but really looking at how we could implement it for Canada. So this framework paper for each of our condition variables and our service variables looks at what data is available currently and possible metrics that we could use. And this will kind of lay out a blueprint that we can follow for the next several years. And will also give us some ideas for ecosystems other than salt marsh on how we can implement CEA. So for this year, we've got lots of plans. We had our first workshop on salt marsh extent at the end of March, and we had 31 people who attended from federal and provincial government. We had university researchers, we had people from NGOs, and it had a really good 3-hour discussion about mapping salt marsh in Canada. We are working on putting out some simple condition and services tables for salt marsh this June, which will just be kind of initial tables, not kind of completing everything in our framework, but just starting with some of the easier things to do. And we'll be updating our ocean and coastal extent table, as well as the conserved and protected area tables in November. We're also getting going on putting together a sea ice extent account with the hope that that will also be able to go out towards the end of the year. Thank you for your time. And if you would like to have more information, please contact me at jessicaandrews@statcan.gc.ca. I hope you have a very good session this afternoon, and so sorry that I could not be there today with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica. So in a moment, we're going to move to the interactive portion of our event. So in the room, we'll have 3 discussion hosts currently sat to my left who are going to lead our discussions. So I'm very happy to introduce Irfan Yulianto, who's Senior Advisor for Marine and Fisheries from the Rekam Nusantara Foundation in Indonesia. Kim Tae Tui Nyok, Head of the Division of Science and International Cooperation at the Institute of Strategy and Policy on Natural Resources and the Environment in Vietnam. And Lasama Sabri, Senior Conservation Officer at the Maldives Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Technology. And online, for those participating online, we're very happy that Ken Findlay, founder and CEO of AfriSeas in South Africa, is able to join us and lead the discussion there. So in just a moment, I'm going to ask everyone to kind of get up out of their seats and orderly organize yourselves into 3 different groups for the discussion. But before I do that, I'm going to invite Irfan Nyok and Lasama up to, or maybe from where you're sat now, to quickly share for 1 minute what it is that you're going to be discussing in each of the 3 discussion groups. And just to add that we're going to have around 25 minutes for discussion here in the room. So there's going to be an opportunity for everyone to move around to participate in all 3 of the different discussions. So perhaps, Irfan, over to you. And
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Irfan Yulianto, as already introduced. I'm Irfan Yulianto from Rekam Nusantara Foundation. Now we do collaboration with several government agencies in Indonesia, such as Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, Geospatial Information Agency, National Statistic Office, Ministry of Finance, National Planning Agency for developing ocean accounts to improve ocean management in Indonesia. I will facilitate the discussion related on benefit and challenge in working together to advance integrated ocean evidence and effective ocean management based on our experience in Indonesia, because we have start Ocean Accounts Initiative since 2020 until now, and we are on progress from this Ocean Accounts Initiative in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you. Nyok.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ngọc. I'm from Institute of Strategy and Policy on Natural Resources and Environment, in short, ISPONRE, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. ISPONRE have worked with UNESCAP and GOAP, Global Ocean Accounting Partnership, for piloting ocean accounting in Vietnam, and we are working with different agencies, both at national level and local level, to set up the ocean account. I will facilitate the discussion on interagency cooperation methods for government approach for ocean data management. So you may know that the ocean data may involve in different sectors, different line ministry, and the data is maybe in different type form. How to bring all stakeholders together, how to effective management of ocean data, and how to ensure the data can be used for policymakers. So I will facilitate the discussion and hope to hear from you what is the effective way for ocean data management, how to bring government, what is the government approach should be applied to be promote ocean data management. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And over to Lisama.
Sorry, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisama, and I'll be facilitating the discussion on the different themes where collective expertise could come together and share knowledge and data to enhance capabilities in a developing context. I'll also be looking into bridging some of the gaps between government practitioners and non-government practitioners, and we can also discuss on some of the methodologies to share collective data. So that's what I'll be facilitating the discussion in the group that I'll be leading. And I also want to highlight that my experience in data, ocean science and ocean data is in working for the government of Maldives. So I will be really glad to hear from you to know what our shared opportunities, challenges, and so on. So I'm looking forward to a great discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So colleagues who are joining us online, I'll leave you in the very capable hands of Ken and colleagues to carry out the discussion there. And we hope to rejoin you in probably just over 20 minutes time, where we'll hear back from each of our discussion groups, including the one online. So let's break up.
Good afternoon, good day, all online. I'd just like to get confirmation that you can hear me.
Read you.
Hello, let me start again. Good day, all online. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'd just like to get confirmation that you can hear me. It looks like it. And what I'd like to do in this session is to start off with a little bit of an overview of where I feel we are coming from, and then thereafter to go into some discussion into looking at how we can use data innovatively within partnerships. I'd like to start just by sharing a screen, and let me go straight into a PowerPoint presentation. Right, can I just get confirmation from somebody that we can see a screen, please? Okay, thank you. So what I really want to chat to you about to lead into this, what hopefully a very exciting discussion this afternoon, is to look really at how we utilize data innovatively. And we've heard a little bit from Ben, from Jessica, and from others regarding some of the opportunities, some of the challenges that we face within ocean data. The point that I really want to start out with is that the interaction of humans in the oceans requires informed and evidence-based ocean governance. That is to really deal with the conflict issues of resource use and the pressures associated with resource uses. We need to be really cognizant of the fact the oceans are changing. Ocean change is really occurring across 3 dimensions. The way we monitor, measure, and research oceans is changing rapidly due to tech advancement. Both human needs and such tech advancement is also changing ocean resource uses. And we look at this in terms of global expansions in blue or ocean economy initiatives, usually at a national level. And we need to understand how oceans themselves are changing, largely due to the increasing anthropogenic production and consumption activities associated with advancing ocean economies. Such ocean change data and the associated benchmark indicators need to talk across economic, social, and environmental domains. And these are critical in evidence-based ocean governance processes. And I think we would agree that ocean accounts really talk to integrating ocean data to develop such information, such indicator information around ocean change. Ben talked earlier a little bit of how ocean economies in the past have really been measured as historically as gross value add of market value contribution to GDP by a particular sector or value chain. And while this is a really important metric, it does have significant challenges in terms of inclusivity and access and the measurement of the benefits or where the benefits of particular ocean economy sectors accrue. There's significant challenges in terms of natural capital measures and aspects of sustainability. There are aspects in looking at particular pressures of consumption and production activities that we need to
Hi, Case,
Great.
Ken. Cheers.
Thank you, Rika. Apologies about that. Look forward to chatting.
Yeah, are you back with us?
Chair, yes, we are. Thank you.
Excellent. No, it's great. Thank you very much. So, no, we've had some great discussions going on in the room. We're going to hear back from those in a moment. Hopefully, had some very engaging conversations kind of online too. So, Ken, if you're with us, I wonder if you could, in 3 minutes, kind of try to summarize some of the discussion kind of that you've had online and some of the key points coming out of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to try to crystallize and to capture and distill our discussion. I would just like to ask my fellow participants from the room to add at the end of, I'll probably run to 2 minutes, to add just to ensure that I've captured everything that we did talk about. So I really initially provided an introduction on different the needs for ocean data and different types of ocean data. And ocean data in relation to ocean change, ocean data change, and ocean resource use change, in order to better manage and govern the kind of human-ocean nexus that we're dealing with here. And we talked very briefly about the way this has been done in the past, how different approaches to data are needed going forward, and then aspects of really of what I'm going to call data from multiple disciplines, data from multiple sources and scales, and how we think innovatively about data themselves in terms of particular data standards, competence, etc. And how do we bring these into partnerships? We had a little bit of discussion about collaborations and the need very often within governments, very often within authority and authority structures, to break away from that often very, very siloed approach in terms of data and almost authority data proprietorship, that we needed to really increase communication and collaboration across sectors and between sectors as ocean resource use proponents and authorities. And it was important that we have the particular governance mechanisms, really, to allow institutional collaboration at different spatial scales, here particularly within countries regarding different sectors relating to the ocean as well. There was a really encouraging input that a lot of this is based on trust, that such governance might be a challenge, and trust in data sharing is particularly important to develop. There was also some limited discussion in terms of taking that relationship between the authorities and the particular commercial sectors to a further step to include informal sectors, communities, indigenous knowledge, etc., which is a really, I personally feel is a really important aspect of data and of information about the ocean space that is often not captured within national accounts because of the informal nature of the particular area. There was limited discussion about the barriers to sharing data, and that the aspects of proprietorship, particularly commercial proprietorship and data confidence, comes to play there. But I certainly feel that there's quite significant ocean data produced by commercial companies that is not of proprietary nature to them. And here in South Africa, I put forward the experience that those data are often shared in terms of data that is accrued, data that's collected in particular commercial applications that is not of commercial interest to those particular industries or sectors.
Ken,
Ken,
could I, sorry.
Okay, thank you. That's really where we were, yeah. Thank you.
we're rapidly running out of time, but no,
Thank you.
That was extremely helpful. Great to hear about the conversation online. So I'm going to kind of pass very briefly now to kind of our discussion leads in the room. So kind of perhaps Irfan, to you first.
Thank you. Based on our discussion in here, we have a three-group discussion, but I think I would like to highlight that ocean accounts in Indonesia for us may be quite easy because it is mandated by law and regulation so government have to do ocean accounts in Indonesia, and then this is the most important part for progress of ocean accounts in Indonesia, and then from this law and regulation, several government agencies need to collaboratively work to implement the ocean accounts in Indonesia. And then we also discuss about the ocean, the relationship between the ocean accounts and blue economy initiative in Indonesia, since this blue economy quite intensive discussion in Indonesia because of a couple of initiatives also under the Ministry of Planning, under the Ministry of National Planning. And then we discuss also about the institution arrangement where, based on the mandate, the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Agency established the task force, and then this task force facilitate the implementation and other things related to the ocean account implementation in Indonesia. And then we also discuss about the data collection, and because in Indonesia we have a different level at the nationwide level, we use existing data from all of government agencies, but for the pilot we collect primary data because we need to have more deep dive for a couple of case study. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the contribution from participants. It's very useful input from different participants. And for the government approach for data, for ocean data management, we have some experience from Mexico that they have some kind of commission for interagency for ocean data management, and Mexico also have some kind of government science program which can be very useful for ocean data management. And in some countries like China, they mentioned that we should some kind of data mechanism for data sharing. Some kind of data is quite confidential, and we need some kind of mechanism among the government agency for data sharing. And also some idea coming that we should have some kind of data sharing mechanism among agency, and we should have some kind of mapping stakeholder analysis of data producers, so we understand which kind of data in different agency and how bring different agency together. And also one key important point, that's capacity building for ocean data management is very important. Like the Iceland, they do not have much capacity for ocean data management, and what type of ocean data should be in place, and also how to monitor SDG like SDG 14. So some highlight from the participant, some experience that how we can promote better data, ocean data management. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And over to you, the last one.
Thank you. I would like to begin by thanking all the participants. And as I mentioned before, I'm from the Maldives, and it's a small island developing state, and I recognize that ocean area is huge and it can be extremely expensive and human resource intensive when it comes to ocean data collection and ocean science. So I really like the question that we had up for discussion on sharing of collective efforts, because while as silos, the information held by different actors might not be as significant, by sharing the data and by collective effort, we might be able to achieve something truly transformational. So it was great to hear back from different experiences from China, Samoa, Ghana, Cabo Verde, Brazil, Egypt, and also from the media, from the different groups that I've had discussions with. And we had discussions on some of the themes where we could share data. It was on planning, on monitoring, on enforcement, on just collecting of different data to identify significant areas, to build resilience, to build capacity, and so on, even for adaptation efforts against climate change efforts. So these are some of the themes where data sharing could help to be very useful. And we also discussed about some of the methods that where we could collect these data. So there was a lot of commonalities between different experiences. Most people mentioned the use of citizen science and even partnerships between different actors in the civil society, which could be NGOs, academia, and not just limiting the partnerships to the national level, but also extending it to global level as well. So it could be global partners who could help in making sure that the data that is collected could be really useful, maybe in the decision-making process or the national development process as well. So there was also a discussion on the use of a national level platform where there are certain standards developed where everyone can contribute to that data, but also there were some challenges identified where there was mention of how costly it could be and how it could also require some human resource capacity as well. And then we ended the discussion with a really important I would say a significant contribution from media, where she mentioned the use of really compelling stories to share the data with the public and the people that could make a difference. So I think we've had really good discussions on how to overcome the gaps between government and non-government practitioners, maybe the use of partnerships and use of stories, really in a way where the collected data could be translated into something that could be used at a national level and maybe even contribute to the global decision-making process through multilateral mechanisms. Thank you so much.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you so much, Lasama. And apologies for having to rush everyone at the end. I'm afraid it's time to kind of bring our session to a close. So I'd like to extend my thanks to everyone who's participated in the discussion today, to our hosts in China, to all of our speakers, both in the room and online, and to the many organizations that have been involved in organizing this session. I'd like to give special mention to Ken from Fisheries, Nina from GOAP, and Kunpor Kuntirapong, and Io from ESCAP, who have all worked extremely hard, both online and kind of in person, to both organize the session and to make everything happen on the day. So thank you very much. So we've had very fruitful exchange here, given many insights for how innovation and partnerships can be utilized to help support inclusive ocean data. And I hope that those conversations continue kind of in the Hoover app for those who have joined online, and kind of over coffee and over dinner for those who are here in person. So wishing everyone a great rest of the day, wherever you are. Thank you very much.